Jackson Radio Show.
Greetings and salutations. You are tuning into the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. Of course, I am guest hosting for the day. This is Brett Segal, the Disgruntled Millennial, broadcasting to you live from my safe space down here in northern Florida, where I'm always free from your bigotry, racism, hatred, microaggressions, and patriarchy. And today, especially, I am free from your patriarchy because we have just heard from the Slut Walk. The Slut Walk. Yeah, y'all remember the Slut Walk? Y'all remember the Dyke March? A lot of the same folks who go to the Slut Walk also go to the Dyke March. Well, it's really no wonder that these folks have decided to make common cause with anti-Semitics, with anti-Semitism. They are basically banning any sort of Zionist display, which basically means a Star of David. After the scandal that was involving the ejection of Jewish women carrying the Star of David flags in Chicago's Dyke March, another organization said that it is going to follow by basically banning any sort of support for Israel. So if you're a Dyke and you want to support the Dyke March and you believe you're basically just a Jew who's from Israel and you support Israel and you want to represent Israel, if you are a lesbian in Israel or from Israel, you cannot bring a flag that has a Jewish star on it. You can't bring a flag that represents that you are Jewish or that you are Israeli. Because at the end of the day, we all know that this Dyke March, Slut March stuff, it's not really about women's rights. It's not really about the alleged rape culture. It's really not about victim shaming or victim blaming. We all know that that's not what it's about, because if that's what it were about, then they would have no problem with having Jewish representatives or even representatives from Israel or even someone who overtly supported Israel as a nation state. You see, the reason that these Dyke March and the Slut Walk, slut, I just love that word. It's like one of those words. If you just put a little stink on it, it just sounds so slut. The Slut Walk. You know, it's organizations like the Dyke March and the Slut Walk that have made common cause with the Palestinians. Now, in order to really understand where this is coming from, you have to know a little bit of the history of the Middle East. You have to know a little bit about the history of Israel versus the disputed territories known as Palestine. Really, there is no such place. But after years and years and years of placating the aggressive Palestinians, as you would call them, after years and years of placating them, it has basically become a part of the narrative. They're sort of permanent refugees, I guess you could say. But it's not the Israelis that have kept them in a refugee status. It is the surrounding countries. Long story short, Israel has always gotten the raw end of the stick as far as the narrative goes. Even though, according to the left's own identity politics, you know, they say the numbers they count. Oh, well, there's so many black men in prison, right? Oh, it couldn't be that black people are committing that much crime. It could be, you know, like what they like to say is that it's because of racism. It's racist policies. It's the racist right wing that is putting more black people in jail than white people. Now, by your own logic, 1.7 billion Muslims versus 14 million Jews, a piddly 14 million. In the entire world, 6 million Jews live in Israel alone. Now, if you want to use the left's own logic, the sheer numbers don't say what they think that they're trying to say. Who are the real oppressors? 1.7 billion versus 14 million? I mean, it's no secret that Nazi Germany made common cause with Arabs all over the world because they made common cause in killing Jews. Now, if you think that because there's only 14 million left and not 8 million or 6 million or 2 million or 100,000 or 100 or 0, you think that because there are some Jews left, somehow the Jews are oppressing the Arabs. Israel takes up a small portion, a very, very tiny portion of the Middle East where only 6 million Jews live, plus a lot of Arabs that live there in Israel. What an oppressive state. They let the Arabs live there. There are no Jews in Arab countries. But no, it's Israel that's the oppressors. Now, it's this same postmodern socialist junk that unites the Arabs in the disputed territories with people like Hillary Clinton and Uma Abedin and the Dyke March and the Slut Walk and Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all those people, because they're all just a bunch of hardcore left-wingers. So it's no wonder the Slut Walk would literally ban Jewish flags. This was the scandal. A rainbow flag with a Jewish star on it, with the Star of David on it. Banned from the Slut Walk and from the Dyke March. Now, I think a lot of this boils down to jealousy, because even with a minuscule 6 million people in Israel and only taking up a very, very small portion of the Middle East, they've managed to turn it into a paradise on earth. And it is pure jealousy. Pure jealousy. Instead of trying to take the Jews down, instead of trying to take the Israelis down, how about adopt a couple of their values, for example? Like turning a desert into a prosperous land where you can grow things. Geographically speaking, it's not like the other Arab countries in the Middle East are a lot different than Israel. It's the value system that takes place there. It's the way of life. It's the Jewish way of life. This is why it all boils down to anti-Semitism. They all like to say, oh, we're not anti-Semitic, we're just anti-Zionist. Anti-Zionist basically says that so you're not anti-Semitic, you just don't think that Jews should have a place to live. You think that Arabs should have a place to live? You think that the Mexicans should have a place to live? You think everyone should have a place to live except Americans? Everyone belongs where they are except Americans. Americans are conquerors. We're imperialists. We're white supremacists. I love it how everyone talks about Trump like he's this big Nazi. Punch a Nazi. It's okay to punch a Nazi. A lot of the same folks that make common cause with the Palestinians are the same people who here in America say, go ahead and punch a Nazi. The Palestinians are more like Nazis. The Palestinians are like Nazis. They want to wipe Jews off the face of the planet. That's like, it doesn't get much more Nazi than that, does it? How much more Nazi does it get than to want to wipe every Jew off the face of the planet? Not just, walking around maybe thinking anti-Semitic thoughts in your, oh, he Jewed me out, or oh, he's, what a Jew. Not like that. I'm talking about proactively trying to wipe an entire race, an entire culture off the face of the planet. Why are the leftists making common cause with these people? And in the same breath, turning around, calling Trump supporters Nazis. It makes absolutely no sense. And what makes even less sense is Jews. Jews who think that they are safe among leftists. Who think that the leftists won't sell them out at the first given chance. Because guess what? When Israel's gone and America has been completely Islamicized, there isn't going to be anywhere for any Jew to go to find refuge. And you're certainly not going to find it at one of these slut walk Dyke marches. It's so funny. All these ladies, they're like, oh, we can't. They do these marches on Washington because of victim blaming when women around the world are having their genitals mutilated. And Israel, of all places, gets the rap. Israel is one of the only places in the Middle East, probably the only place in the Middle East, where you actually might be able to have a slut walk or a dyke march. You know what they do to gays in other Muslim countries in the Middle East? These slut walks don't just go so far as to ban any sort of Israeli or Zionist paraphernalia or signal or sign. They actually make you express solidarity with Palestine. They make you renounce any previous connections you have had with Israel. Are you now? Have you ever been a member of a group with ties to Israel? Repudiate and repent. And if you're openly Jewish in one of these organizations, they automatically assume that you are pro-Zionist. And when I say pro-Zionist, I mean someone who believes that Israel has a right, that Jews have a right to self-determination. That's basically it. I'm sorry, this is totally a Muslim versus Jews thing. It's like Arabs, Israel versus Palestine. That's all just window dressing for the big conflict, which is Muslims versus Jews. And to be honest, I fear for the left. I fear for the Dyke March and for these sluts. I fear for those sluts. Because one day the Muslims are coming for them too.
You gotta take a piss? Yeah, my vagina's about to spray. Yeah, I gotta take a piss too. All right, let's go to the bathroom together. Oh my God, last night I had sex with a Brazilian. Can you believe that? Oh my God, you're such a slut. How many is that? Do you smell that? Oh my God, what the hell is that?
Hey ladies, excuse me, could you pass me some TP?
Oh my God, what are you doing in here?
Shut up, bigot.
Of course, lefties always get their comeuppance in the end because they eventually will eat their own tail. This is Brett Segal, the Disgruntled Millennial, broadcasting to you live. We will be right back.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.